Greetings! It's I, Tantus Naraman Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome once more as we dive back into the Pathfinder role-playing game system and their world of Golarion. Are you ready to take another tour and be introduced to another ancestor? Because that's where we're going today. We're talking about the Wyvaran, and I have to admit, Wyvaran does not have a lot of information on it, but I have a player in a game, cough, cough, shout out Crimson Queen, cough, cough, cough. You haven't checked that out, so I thought it would be appropriate to talk about it. But let's kind of get the basics out of the way of, hey, you're either joining me on Twitch over there or over on YouTube, whichever you're joining on. Please, make sure to give the right support for those places. Check out everything else if you have the time or opportunity to, the other locations. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, appropriately, whatever is to appease algorithms and support the channel as best you can. Support is great. Helps me keep going and these things here. I love doing these, and I just do them mostly out of the kindness of my heart. So, shall we talk about Wyvaran? Because as they aren't really seen in 2nd edition too much, they have appeared a number of times, of course, in 1st edition. And, they're mentioned in a couple of places beyond that, too. So where do we start out? Well, where they were introduced, Bestiary 4. So they have been around for quite some time. This was 2013. So it's 11 years theoretically existing in the lore. Just we haven't really heard about it a lot about it post 2nd edition. But this did give the basic stats for playing them. They had this idea of what you would be as an adventurer, a little bit different than your classic society. Then it gets into Inner Sea Races, which was a couple years later. Did a very good job of introducing them again and giving a little bit more information, but there wasn't a lot here either. There hasn't been a lot between these two books. Overall, for lore, I can give you what it is. It's enough. And then finally, Heroes of Golarion did give a little bit here, but it was not a lot either. It was, again, more of an in passing. They're a group that is part of the Garund area. Now, here is what a Wyvaran looks like. And it, to a degree, looks like a cross between a Wyvern and a Kobold. Interestingly enough, that is exactly kind of what they look like. It is thought that they were the result of magical experiments crossbreeding Wyverns and Kobolds. So, it kind of fits the idea of it. They're very territorial, very loyal to those that are within their tribes. And basically, if you want to get into their territory, good reason, I'll explain in a little bit, you gotta have tribute or basically give them a good reason. And each of them has their own personal goods. You try to steal from them, they'll try to get revenge on you. There is plenty of them that lean towards very neutral, some towards evil, that Wyvern blood in them, a little bit of that cruelty that Wyverns tend to have. And they're also oftentimes looked at very, down. People look at them as being vast, dumb, selfish brutes, but it's one of those things that they have their own sets of rules. And the rules about property makes it that they are very steadfast and loyal allies, if you keep within the rules that they have. So, yeah. And as you can see, they look very draconic. Tails, wings, fangs, they're humanoid. So it does vaguely give you an idea of what they look like. So continue our chat. So, it's just a thing that so many beings dismiss them. But it is important also to note that if you are a companion with one that's an adventurer, they'll treat you just as close as they would clutchmates. Basically, they're siblings. If you are someone that becomes a friend with a Wyvaran, you're deeply connected with them, and you are a true friend to them. Unfortunately, their exact origins, their exact history, it tends to be unknown, lost to time. But it is kind of known that it was probably from those early days. Hey, maybe we can blame the Aslanti people or one of the ancient civilizations of Garund. Hard to say, but we do have histories of them, even from the Age of Darkness. Currently, they are natives to the Shattered Range in Garund. And you will find a good population of them within that territory. when the Age of Darkness occurred, they had a larger territory. Perhaps this is because of expansion of the loss of elves when they left, or the humans declining. It's really hard to say. But we do know that they were at their height during this time period. And it could also be that the Wyvarans found caches of Aslanti or other ancient, like Shari, relics in Garund and used them. When the ancient Assyrian Empire began to expand and gather strength and claim territories, effectively the edges of Wyvaran territory were beaten back. They weren't an empire like humans were, they just had more territory and expanded various tribes and stuff in those territories. So, beating them back, losing the war, they're not on a united front against an empire that's forming. And again, this also helped cause a decline in their population. Still, they remained, and if you are a rare caravan that goes through the Vangaline Pass from Geb to the Mwangi Expanse, you might have to pay tribute to a Wyvernian tribe in the area. And you will find those that are adventurous spirits, especially those of the young Wyvernians that will begin to travel. Alcazar, Nex, Capatesh, even farther than that, you can find Wyvernian traveling. So, yeah. Within the region they're from, relatively common. Outside of that, fairly rare. It is that thing of, certain temperaments just give them a bad name, and the fact is that they certainly haven't had the best relations with Mandy or others. But yeah, that little bit there is the Wyvernan. And I hope I'm saying it correctly. It's one of those wings that's Wyvaran. I try to say it correctly. I tried to do the Wyvern a little bit more, but Wyvaran, I think, is what it's really it. Now I'm sitting down, concentrating on it. That's me mispronouncing it. But okay, yeah. Do we know a lot about them? No, we know they're tribal people. We know that their family is very important. We know that they can have this idea of property is a very important concept to them. It's kind of like that, a little bit of treasure hoarding that comes from draconic heritages. But, it's that idea of what mine is mine is mine. And that can extend to territory and areas that tribes protect. And it's another one of those things that's sort of like, hey, you're breaking our boundaries. We're not going to necessarily fight you right away. But we want you to give us something in return for breaking our territories. And it can also be understandable for how they've been treated, too, to a degree. A combination of those, basically, territorial instincts, ownership instincts that are deep within their people, combined with how they have been treated. Yeah. When people left, they filled those gaps during the Age of Darkness. And then when people decided to return, they did not treat them well. With their ideals and the way they act, it might never have worked out. It's really hard to say. Those Syrians and the various groups and empires that rose post-Age of Darkness in those territories, I can't say that they really would have been able to find a peaceful way with the Wyvaran. Maybe they couldn't have. But the way that they were treated, the way that they were fought, beat back, driven back to an territory that is their home territory in their minds, means that they remember that to a degree. That maybe is ingrained in them. So it couldn't even be negotiating, other things like that. It's long memories of violence, in a way, that doesn't really exist the same way today. Yeah, people maybe look down on them, but no one's really trying to go to war with them. No one's trying to drive them from their territory. It's their home. And plenty of people the rare people that do use the routes that go through their territory, tend to do that. Give them some tribute. And maybe this younger group that is beginning to connect up with the outside world will bring a little bit of change and growth to their societies and allow them You know, think of the companions. I mentioned that if you know their rules and the respect they have, their ideas within their own society when it comes to property and what's yours, you'll find a loyal friend who will be by your side. You know, you don't just take. Maybe you ask, maybe you request, maybe you negotiate. And it's like, hey, I could use some water. Can you share it with me? And it's probably not as deep as that, but, you know, things like that, you know, interesting aspects of Wyvarans. But I'll leave that there today. It's not a long bit of talking today. As I said, I did this more out of the fact that I have a player playing one in one of my games. And I felt like that was an appropriate thing while that game was still going on. Cough, cough again, shouting out Crimson Queen. Wednesdays at 9 on Twitch or later on YouTube. Cough, cough, Pathfinder First Edition game. Cough, cough. I do think that, you know, seeing more of that and talking about things like these, maybe we will see them in Second Edition. Especially with the update into the core and stuff like that. It's hard to say what we'll see come back. But this is one of those ones that is Pathfinder original, so we don't really have to worry about is it going to be legacy content or not? It's just, you know, little details. I looked at it, and I don't really think there's a change for removing the OGL stuff. So we're probably good. Anyway, want to see more? Make sure to check me out either live or over more on my videos on YouTube. Just, you know, more stuff to check out and see. Better support for me, whether it's live or later on. Either really helps. And remember to give those supports. Remember to check out my social media. If you want to see me with the Pathfinder stuff live, that's on Thursdays, usually in the afternoon. But all my recordings live are Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, I'm sorry. Used to be Saturdays. And then I have, of course, Crimson Queen, and Discuss a Tabletop on Saturdays at 6, where I talk about news of the week, deeper discussions in tabletop, all those kind of things. And I recommend all my tabletop content. If you love it, check out more of it. Come on, it's cool stuff to do. I'm going to get going, though. I do actually have some more stuff to talk about and things like that with Twitch. So, YouTube you guys there. Till the next time, we hang out, we chat Pathfinder, we learn about a new ancestry, new place, new thing in the tabletop world. I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.